This is episode 57, and I'm joined by professional esports player and coach of Wayne State College, Nick Sutton. You founded esports at Radford University. You're a Radford alumni. Thank you very much for joining me. But real quick, can you give everyone just a quick highlight or just what exactly esports is for people that may not know?
Yeah, so esports is the competitive aspects of gaming. So usually it's made up of, teams of anywhere from 1 to 6 players for competitive titles such as Overwatch, Valorant, Rocket League, Madden 2K, and FIFA are more familiar ones. But there's a big scene in high school, collegiate, and professional play for esports, and it's a growing industry. So,
Yeah, rapidly growing, bro.
mhm.
I mean, when did you get into esports?
I started playing Rocket League in 2015 and I started attending Radford in 2016. And so that's when I started to kind of unveil the collegiate aspects of esports. And I started to find all these different clubs and competitive leagues to play in. And so that's when I was like, well, I don't have really anything to do at Radford besides school because,
Mhm.
I was a freshman. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to do my classes and grind Rocket League. So that's what I was doing the whole time. That's kind of how I got into it.
What system did you start playing on? Not necessarily Rocket League, but like what was your first introduction to video games?
PlayStation 2, way back in the day.
Classic,
Yeah.
dude. I had the
hmm
PlayStation too.
Yeah. And then I played a lot of Xbox 360, and then that was my last console before switching over to PC.
We'll start with Radford because I was going to get into your pro career, but we'll start with Radford. I saw you guys won the 2019 Shenandoah Invitational for Rocket League. Congratulations on that, first off.
Thank you.
But how did you go about assembling the club at Radford? Because you won a championship just a few years after starting the club. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it started with just Rocket League. Me and my roommate at the time, or one of my friends who lived next door to me in the dorms, we both were really into Rocket League, and we needed one more player. That was it to play in the CRL, which is Collegiate Rocket League. Back then, it was the College Carball Association, um, and so we needed one more player. And we thought the best way to really advertise this was to start a club. We need as many players as possible. We need, a couple subs maybe. So I just wrote up a constitution that same day when we had the idea, and over the course of the next week, I was going through the process of making it an official club at Radford.
Do you still keep up with members of the club?
Yeah, I'm still in. We have a Discord server that I made, so I'm still the owner of that server. It's like a community hub, and I'm still in that. So I still communicate with them regularly.
Is this still growing pretty well at Radford?
Yeah, I think so. I think with COVID, it kind of put a damper on things,
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
because everything is online for esports. There was no in-person meetings over the last year, so they weren't really to be as active as we were when I was there before COVID hit.
Mhm.
But I think as we start to come out of that, hopefully that it'll get that spark again.
Yeah. Did you find it relatively easy to find people that were interested in joining a club like esports at Radford?
It was a really slow start. I think for like the first semester and a half, we only had about 20 people. But the following year at the club fair, we had 150 signups.
Dang.
So instantly it grew like that. And again, the following year at the next club fair, it was another 150. And so at that point, we were over 300 total members in our community.
That's crazy. That's so fast. Like how
hmm
quick it happened. I mean, everyone plays video games. Like literally,
Yeah.
like in some way, shape, not everyone obviously, but like the vast majority of college students and high school students play video games. Now, do you um are you kind of open to accepting any member to the club if they don't necessarily have experience with you guys play primarily on PC, right?
Yeah. hmm
Do you have any like do you are you willing to accept people that don't know anything about PC?
Absolutely. So, I mean, esports, it is for everybody, whether you're a casual player or a competitor. And again, everybody plays video games, but teaming up with people is kind of a different environment. So, the esports club allows, uh, or like has that resource for you to meet new people and start teaming up. And then you can really get competitive about it. You start practicing together, building that chemistry, and then you join a collegiate league. And so it's really easy to get into, but even if you're not into competitive esports, that community is still there for casual members.
Hmm. And what was your, if you can remember, like your first memory where you realized like this is my future, like this is going to be a passion that I have for many many years, and this will ultimately be my career.
It was in that moment when we won at Shenandoah, because I just think that was the coolest experience ever to, kind of build up that club and then build the reputation to get an invite because that was an invitational tournament.
Mhm.
And we had made some friends with the guys at Shenandoah, and luckily we got an invite to that. So it was just really cool to go and experience that. And when we held up the trophy, I was like, "This is what I want to do. This is
That's so
awesome."
sick. And I was actually looking at some of your Instagram stories because you have them like saved up or like pinned to your
Yeah.
profile.
Mm-hmm.
Like Virginia Tech was there,
Yep.
ECU was there, like a lot of big schools. And Radford, obviously, like for people that are listening and may not know, like Radford's not that big, especially in comparison to those schools.
Yep.
So to go there and represent them, and not just represent them, but win is ultra impressive.
Yeah, that was really cool. And that was Shenandoah's first land that they hosted, and they have a great program. They have two esports arenas. They're really impressive, for esports right now. And I think they also added a esports major. So they're all over esports, and to be able to go there and see their arena set up, it was inspiring for me as well for my career. Just seeing the collegiate setup, I was like, you know what, I could probably do this.
What is the biggest competition that they have for esports in on the collegiate level?
I want to say it's probably still League of Legends is the main tournament because it has the highest payout of like 500,000 in scholarships, anywhere from 150,000 to $500,000 in just scholarships. But nowadays, the NCAA actually doesn't govern esports, so there's really no main hub for competition. And it's been split up into conferences, so like the Big 12 or Pac 12 or the ECAC or NECC, all those different collegiate divisions host their own seasons. So it's kind of split up. There's really no, you know, main tournament where you find out where the best team is in the nation. It's really
Mhm.
just the best in these smaller conferences.
So would you say League of Legends is the most popular game that people play?
I would say yes because it's been around for a while, and League is just one of those games that's never going to die out, in my opinion. The user base is extremely just active, and they're still building on that game. They're still adding new characters, new content. So that's just something that's going to continue growing, forever. I think.
What is a game that you think is kind of on the rise that could potentially reach that level of League of Legends in popularity?
Um, I would say Valorant. I mean, as a Rocket League player, I want to say Rocket League, but I know Valorant coming in, being the game that's kind of known to replace CS:GO as of right now. I think that's going to be one of the next top tier esports.
Yeah, dude, I love Rocket League. That's really the only one that I've played, but I don't have a PC. But my friend Jack does, and his setup is just sick. Now, did you build your own PC?
I did, yep.
How long did that take?
Took me a couple hours, but
Oh, it's not
it
too
took me
bad.
a couple months to save up for it.
Yeah,
It is not a cheap hobby, I will
dude, the
say that.
setups are just so sweet though. Like sometimes I'll just be on YouTube or I'll be going through like Twitter or something and just seeing people's setups. Dude,
Yep,
some of them are clean. Like I would not leave my room. Like
yeah.
I would just be locked up there all day.
And
Now,
that's good.
what were your emotions when you received your first contract to become a professional esports player?
Man, it happened so quick. And I don't know. I really don't even know how I got good at Rocket League looking back at it. Like I have 4,500 hours in Rocket League as of today. And I almost don't remember, how much like when I was putting that time in, but it was every day I was playing at Radford, on my days off, I was consistently grinding every night. I had this rule, within my own mindset. I was like, I'm going to play 6 hours a day or put 6 hours of work into this esports club. And
Mhm.
so that's what I did every single day, 6 hours at least, whether it be in the morning, in the evenings after class. I was always putting the time in. And to see it pay off, not only with the club, but my professional career as well, I was signed to Shattered Dreams Esports. They're based out of Canada. But that was just the greatest feeling because I had something that I was passionate about, that I was good at, that I could just continue doing, over the next few years. And I saw that opportunity. I was like, this is crazy. Like I'm making a living for myself out of esports.
That's sick. Like you said, it's like chasing your dream at the end of the day.
Yeah. Hmm.
Now, how did you get approached to be the full-time coach at Wayne State?
So when I was at Radford, I did my degree required me to do an internship. So I was the director of esports at Radford for one semester, and that was the last thing I did. And ultimately, Radford wasn't ready to take on a full scale program. I think just with they had a lot of stuff going on, and they weren't ready to take on that. So I started looking for other opportunities, and then I found a graduate assistant position at Wayne State. And I was thinking about getting my master's. I didn't really know after graduating Radford. I was like, do I want to continue my education? Ultimately, I thought, yes, this is a great opportunity for me to pursue my passion in esports and get my master's degree. So yes, I took that opportunity, and over the last year, we just had crazy amounts of success. I can go into more detail later, but I actually just got hired on as now the full-time head coach of esports, and I'm still going to pursue my master's degree, just one class at a time.
Nice. And when you went into Wayne State as the coach, how many members were already a part of the club or the organization?
It started with pretty much zero. It was a brand new program. So the president was really, excited to get this program going. This wasn't supposed to be started until next year, but she was like, let's make this happen. She's been awesome for that. And I think it was just a few league students or league players who had the initial interest in, starting an esports club or a competitive program. And that just, that spread the idea throughout administration, and they just took it on instantly and built the arena super quick over the course of last summer. So it started with nothing, and then we had our first tryouts last fall, and we had, I think, 100 students. And for a very small school in rural Nebraska, that's a lot of students for
Yeah.
sure.
And how often do you guys practice, and then ultimately how often do you compete?
They practice twice a week minimum, and they also have one competition day a week.
And how long does an average practice last? And then when you're competing, how long does an average competition?
Practices go for 2 hours, and the average competition is anywhere from 2 to 3 because it's usually a best of five.
So are you just I practice specifically? Are you just focusing on one game? Like is the whole team focusing on one game, or are you kind of separated into what your strengths are in terms of playing?
I try and coach as much as I can. I am familiar with every game because I played them all. I mean, even just watching these players, who are competitive in their own game, I've learned so much that I'm able to kind of take on the things that they've said and reiterate it into a coach's standpoint and focus on the mindset, especially for games that I'm not completely familiar with. I can take kind of, the motivational aspect of esports and the psychological aspect and be like, okay, let's keep our heads in the game. Let's not get tilted, or rage quit, because that is a thing in esports. It's pretty hard to stay mentally strong when you're
Yeah.
down, 13-0 or something. So for games I'm not super familiar with, I can do that, but my strengths, are either Valorant or mostly Rocket League. So I can really go in depth on the mechanics of the game for games like Rocket League. And so that allows us to be really strong in that title. And I try and do my best with the other titles.
So have you always been passionate about coaching, or is this something that kind of just fell into your lap and you kind of wanted to be a full-time player, but coaching just happened to be around the corner?
Yeah, I was in the beginning of college, I was really like introverted. And I think it took this club to really bring me out of my shell at Radford, and all of a sudden I was leading 300 students, and I was having these interest meetings where the auditorium was full, and I
That's so
hated
sick.
public speaking. I absolutely hated it until I got used to it. I did it enough times, and then, I'm organizing meetings, I'm setting up these teams and practices. I interacted with so many people while I was at Radford that I think it gave me the leadership skills to take on a role like a coach. And so I've just loved it ever since, and it grew on me really quickly. Even being, the quiet kid most of the time, I was kind of able to just, like I said, come out of my shell and be the leader that I need to be.
That's one thing that I love about Radford is you can just like you can go from like especially with a club and organization, like it can go from nothing to something to like everything that your life is about, like relatively quick because there's just so much opportunity there, and there's so many like things that haven't been discovered at the school. At least that's what I've
Absolutely.
seen from my short time there.
Yeah, and I've told people, if you have that idea to start a club, take the chance on it because you don't know. You don't know who else is also interested in that. And I didn't know there was going to be 300 students at Radford also interested in esports, but they were there. And, most of them might have been hiding in their dorm. That's what gamers do. They hide out. So, bring a community like that to life, it's pretty cool. So if anyone's interested in starting a club, they should definitely do it.
Was it relatively easy to find the equipment to launch a club, or did you have to get funding for that?
So the Center of Innovative Teaching and Learning definitely helped us out because they bought us two PCs, like a really high-end, top of the line at the time, anyways, like 3 years ago. They bought us two of those PCs with all the peripherals you could need to compete and VR headsets and setups. Charlie Cosmato was in charge of that, and he was a great club advisor. He's done so much for us, and so they provided two PCs that our players could practice on every now and then. But most of our competition did take place just from home. Everyone played in their dorms. But if there was an arena at Radford, I guarantee you it would be full all the time.
Where do you see the potential of esports gambling going?
I
If you can
yeah.
comment on that.
I think it's going to be one of the more popular ones because the viewer base for esports is massive. It's almost more than the NFL, and I think it outranks every other sport that's televised. And so when you take those numbers and let's say you increase it from that's just the United States, let's say you take this worldwide, I think esports has the most viewership in the world. And so when you start talking about, those kinds of businesses, I think they're going to be booming and they can absolutely capitalize off of the interest in esports. I think it's going to go a long ways.
Yeah, especially if they were able to get on a platform similar to FanDuel, or they maybe like made their own platform where it was more like widely accessible. I could definitely see it. So, do you see a point in our lifetime where esports, the popularity of esports, ultimately surpasses the popularity of general sports, like physical sports?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Because I mean, every day it's like I'm seeing the generations getting younger when they start gaming, like seriously, like competitive gaming. Because the high schoolers now are some of the best pros in the world. And that sounds crazy, but they're just so invested into these games and the pros are getting younger is what I say, because all the pros that I've seen are coming out of high school right now. And I'm like, well, they just finished their pro career and now they're going to go off to college to compete again in the collegiate leagues. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely think so. After taking this full-time position, I'm able to invest a lot more time into the program, and I want to expand into like the production side of the industry because obviously it's growing. There's a lot of demands for esports professionals, not only like the Twitch streaming, the commentating, the shoutcasting, the event specialists, leadership. There's a ton of college programs that want coaches now, or coordinators, or graduate assistants. And so I think it's important to invest in that industry and start building up the leadership so we can start to progress esports even further. So that's something I'm focusing on right now is just building those new opportunities for students.
So, an average professional esports team, how many team members are there, and then how many coaches, assistant coaches, and so on?
I mean, it really depends on your funding. I mean, if you have, let's say, unlimited funding, you could field, you know, however many teams that your arena could hold, and you could have a coach for each of those teams. We have a roster size of about 50 right now when we operate off of 12 gaming PCs. So we usually run two teams per game title, and we compete in 9 different titles.
Wow. Dude, I'm like fascinated by all this. Like, I don't know much about it. Like, you're the first esports player like I've really ever talked to. I mean, obviously, like some of my friends play PC games, but no one on the competitive level that you're on. Now, what is like just about the craziest outcome you've seen in an esports game where there was something on the line, whether it was like a trophy or money or something?
I I mean, the craziest thing so far is, I mean, we started this program last year. Like we've only been active for 1 year, and our first season we were in 2 grand finals in the ECAC league, and that's out of about 150 other schools. And we're a school of about 3,500 total. So a really small school in Nebraska is extremely competitive in this esports league. And I think I've just been wowed by the fact that there's so much talent out here, and so we placed second in Rocket League and second Super Smash Bros. Our first season. And we also won the ECAC Esports Commissioners Cup, which was the best overall program performance in the league across all the game titles. And then, yeah, going into our second season, the last semester, we actually won Super Smash Bros. So we've just grown so much in the past year already. And I've only been coaching for a year. So to have a national championship already under my belt, I'm just like, wow, like
Yeah.
that's insane for me. And these players are just so awesome. So I'm just looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I can imagine like so many people you're chasing that championship throughout your career, but you already have one right away. So you kind of already have that burden off your back of like being a champion. And you also came to the school a champion of with another
Hmm.
organization. Now, where do you see yourself personally in 10 years? Like obviously it'll be some sort of esports occupation, but where would you like to live? Like, is there a hub that you like to go through for esports?
I don't know about location specifically. I do think it's a wild that I've kind of solidified my career in the esports industry now that I've gone full time here, especially, I'll do another, few years here, who knows? But my end goal is to really get into the pro scene, whether that be team management or working higher up in administration in a professional organization. And that's kind of where I want to be in 10 years. But I mean, my confidence is so high right now. My motivation is maxed out based off of the success I've already had with this program. So I mean, I want to keep pushing those limits and see what else I can do personally.
Like, are you anticipating a big turnout for new members come August and September?
Yeah, I mean, based off my experience at Radford, I've kind of just estimated that your roster size will double every year because it went from
Sheesh.
150 students to 300 the next year. And so if that is consistent across the board, then we're expecting to run over 100 students on our roster next season.
And what does an average tryout consist of?
I really look at individual player skill, and like I said, I've really been able to learn a lot of the game titles in depth after watching my players play over the last year. So tryouts really is just I have a couple sessions for each title, 2 to 3 hours each, and then I analyze everyone's gameplay individually. I have a score sheet that I keep, and it has all the aspects of what I think goes into a great player. So the teamwork, the communication, the chemistry, the adaptability, things like that, and also their overall competitive rank in the game that they play. So I kind of put all of that into a little score sheet, and then I, take my own notes as well. And so all of that plays into every player's analysis at tryouts. And then I go through and I individually handpick what players would be best for which team. We run a varsity and a JV team. So that's kind of how I differentiate. And so I just go through one by one and pick the players out from tryouts. Well, we're trying to get every single player a scholarship going into next year. So that's JV and varsity teams. And we're really looking to expand our arena also. So there's a bunch of things that are still in the works. And I think that's going to be a great outcome either way.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to keep up with your career and Wayne State and see how you guys do competition wise. When is your first competition? When will it be?
We start back up in late August.
Okay, and do you know exactly what game you'll be playing for that?
I think it'll start out with Super Smash Bros. Will be the first game of the night.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna need to catch up on the Rocket League one because I'm not
Oh
good
yeah.
at it, but I know at least how to play it.
Rocket League
But
will be on Wednesdays for sure. But we also stream. So twitch.tv/WSC Wildcats.
okay, yeah, I'll have all that below in the description. If you just send me links to it, I'll throw it all in the description.
Yeah.
So if you're watching or listening, just scroll down and make sure to check out Wayne State on Twitch. You guys have a YouTube channel or a
Yep.
page or
Well, we
anything
have
else?
Instagram, Twitter. We have our own website as well. It's going to have all of our rosters on it and my info.
Okay. Yeah. And make sure to where can everyone follow you specifically?
Twitter. I use Twitter mostly at Nikolai_RL.
Okay. And then Instagram or anything like that?
Nikolai it's also the same thing.
Okay, same
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, guys, make sure to give them a follow and check out their content that they're posting. Keep up with their teams. What is before we get out of here? What is one piece of advice that you could give to everyone watching or listening that is aspiring to be an esports player?
Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it, because there's a lot of people that will just trash talk you, especially online. Don't let the haters get to you. Keep pushing, keep that mental strong, keep driving to succeed, and you definitely will.